Okay, so I'm John Bodner, and I'm going to talk about Chapter 8 and go through the outline, discuss the things that are important to take away from it, and go over Module 2. So this chapter focuses on emotions, and we have to really kind of delve into it to understand what emotions are, how to identify them, the effect that they have on our bodies, and why they're so important. So the first thing that we have to understand is what are emotions. Emotions are things that cause physiological changes, nonverbal reactions, verbal reactions, or more like verbal expressions, and things that we have to interpret within our own mind, and they affect our daily life. They affect how we operate, or we make us more effective or less effective. They make us socially interact. They have an enormous effect on our mindset. If you go into physiological changes, when you're happy, all the temperature is evenly distributed throughout your body, and then when you're angry, most of the temperature is focused from your waist up and mostly in your arms and your fists and that kind of thing. And so you have to move on from that, understand, well, what causes us to be influenced by emotions. Part of that is personality. People who are apprehensive are going to be far more tendency to have a negative emotion as people who aren't apprehensive. And gender and culture and things like that play a role too. But I think it's a huge thing to note the emotional contagion which comes with emotions. As someone who's happy, that emotion can easily spill over into someone else. And if you're unhappy or you're angry or you're sad, that emotion can easily spill into the next group of people. And so emotions are highly contagious. Emotions are something that people can pick up on, women more so than men, and it's very easily influential towards other people. So what are the guidelines for expressing emotions? Well, you have to be able to identify it. The book lists plenty of words to properly identify emotions. You can also say it by things that you want to do or speak metaphorically, but you have to properly communicate your emotions. And learning to accept responsibility for them and learn to maximize and minimize positive and negative emotions. And these are what we call facilitative emotions, which are emotions that are going to boost your effectiveness as a person, and debilitative emotions, which are going to lessen your effectiveness as a person. Learning to control these two types of emotions can greatly boost, for one, just your overall sanity, but two, your effectiveness in day-to-day life. Moving on from that, he goes right into managing emotions, which is the last part of the chapter. Understanding that thoughts or thoughts can cause emotions. Thinking of something that's sad or upsetting is going to cause you to experience that emotion, which is going to make you just not effective. It's one of the debilitative emotion, the overall causes of them, and it's important to learn to control that. Perhaps the biggest thing, and something that I personally struggle with, is rumination. Learning to sit and hold a grudge and be angry about something does nothing, whether imaginative or not, is something that you have to learn to control, because it's just going to create unnecessary negative emotion. So learning to control those things is a great tool into learning how to control your emotions. Not the easiest thing in the world, and I know that more than anybody, but rumination is something that you really, really should learn to get under control. And irrational thinking is probably also, again, something that I struggle with. It is probably the hardest thing to learn to control, because often when you have trouble with your emotions and you have irrational thoughts, you're often delving into what the book calls the fallacy of perfection, which is when you believe that someone's got to be great at communicating in every setting all the time, no mistakes. And the fact of the matter is that's just not true. You can't always communicate your emotions effectively. Not everyone's going to pick up on emotions effectively, and that's just not realistic. Learning to control your emotions and communicate them to the best of your ability is what's going to be able to control your frustration and, in the long run, increase your effectiveness as a person. And that's Module 2.